We also, if we look at AIG, we see CIA, because the AIG was founded by a guy named C.V. Starr. You can do a search on it. C.V. Starr. C.V. Starr started out in the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services, during World War II. That was the intelligence apparatus. Once the war was over, it changed into what we now know as the CIA. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
People need to listen to and watch the video. What is it? Something of an economic hitman by John Perkins. Are you aware of this guy?
No, because someone in the chat room is saying watch Money Masters. That's not it, is it?
No.
Okay.
There's a video that you can find if you go to, let's see, what website can you? If you go to Deprogram, which is one of my favorite websites, okay? Deprogram, D-P-R-O-G-R-A-M. I'm sure you can find that particular video by John Perkins. He is a member of this group, okay, in the CIA, who call themselves economic hitmen. No one has ever spoke about what these people do until this guy. I'm wondering how is he still alive, okay? His book was #1 on the New York Times #1 bestseller list for a number of weeks, and I'm sure it's still at the top right now. But for those who don't have it, they need to go out and get that book, okay? In it, he talks about his role as an economic hitman and what he would do, and we could see the pattern. Since 1945, this pattern has existed. He goes in under the cover of a business person, okay? He basically tries to maneuver the various governments in positions where the corporate heads who run this country basically want them to go. If he fails in his effort to get them to move towards that corporate agenda, the next phase is for him to leave, and they call in a group called the Jackal. These are hired assassins who work for the CIA. Okay? They're called Jackals. Their thing is to go in and assassinate those leaders. Go ahead, sister. You want to say something?
The name of that video is The Confession of Economic Hitman.
That's it. Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins. Okay? Now, if the Jackals are unable to accomplish their task, okay, what they then do is they create propaganda. This is what Edward Bernays, who they termed the father of advertising and propaganda in this country for the last 100 years. He's the most important person in this country. Much of what we see today in terms of advertising and propaganda stemmed from him. And if we look at him and his history, we can see those patterns still exist, even though he lived for 100 years and then died in the middle 1990s. But what Perkins outlines is that when the Jackals, if they aren't able to do what they do, they create the propaganda apparatus. They abuse you in mainstream media that's controlled by the major corporations, and then they send the U.S. military in there to bomb you into submission. We just saw that scenario happen in Iraq. Saddam Hussein.
Is that what they get ready to do over in Afghanistan?
If we look at the patterns are the same. If we look at what they're talking about in Iran, they take people's words out of context. They use the propaganda to twist the words around. They send in the economic or so-called political people to go in and come under their rule. And if you don't, they try to assassinate you. If that don't work, they then come with the propaganda and they go to war with you. I might add that in every circumstance, most of these people from David Rockefeller, who doesn't necessarily practice Judaism on the surface, but the overwhelming majority of these people are Jews. And anybody that speaks out against them, that's why Barack Obama had no problem going to speak before AIPAC and bow to their demands. This is why you hear people talking about the power of the Jewish lobby, AIPAC, the most powerful lobby to speak about. This is why the Congressional Black Caucasians, that's what we call them, are totally ineffective in doing anything and cannot serve the needs of black people because they're controlled by this cabal of people who control everything in and out of government.
Wow. So it sounds like already total control.
They have it to an extent, but what they don't have is people like me, and I'm sure there are hundreds of others there just underground who don't come above ground. I told you, I've been talking about this stuff for over 20 years. However, you won't see me on TV because I know that that thing is controlled by them. Our thing is to put things and institutions in place that we don't have to battle them in the forefront of thinking, which is basically going to determine our credibility, our viability, and our freedom. We can't outfight this thing because they have all the military hardware necessary to neutralize you. But what we must do is to basically be able to outthink them. And next week, we are going to put in place some things based on the things that we talk about today to show people how we can neutralize them by outthinking them, because there's not a virus in the history of the planet that can outkill these people. They kill with impunity. You merely have to look at all of the wars that they basically drummed up over the last 30 to 40 years to understand what I'm talking about.
Wow. I have some people wants to know, they want to ask you some questions, okay?
Let them come on down.
Area code 773, are you there? Do you have a question or comment? Hello?
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 Yes, is this area code 773?
Yes, it is.
You have a question or a comment?
Well, I was listening. I didn't really have a question at this time. I was just listening to the program because I was trying to get online, and I was having some difficulty, so I decided to call in and listen. But now, you know what? Now that I have you, though, I just heard Rob say something about the inability to outkill these people, and certainly while I would agree with that, America, with all of its might, is still extremely vulnerable. In fact, I have before me the Philadelphia Trumpet for May 2005, the article by the editor Gerald Furry, F-L-U-R-R-Y, America's Achilles Heel in Germany. And I would just want people to get a hold of that article if they could and read it. And I think you'll be very interested in what it has to say, in that it says that based on the microprocessors and computer processors that many weapons now have, that America is in fact much more vulnerable to attacks from cyberspace than ever before. And in fact, America is in fact a real paper tiger now in this era of microprocessors and computers. I would just like your guest to respond to that, and then I'll just listen.
Okay, thank you, caller.
All right. See, that's what I mean about thinking. I happen to know that brother. He's been with me for quite a few years. And so what we encourage is our people to challenge my thinking. Here's how I would answer that. We must understand that this nation was doing the very same things that it's doing now, because they have more than one form of application in terms of the Internet. They also have the Alternet. Okay?
The Alternet?
Yes. That's the sister to the Internet.